Hi, friends. My name is Eric Barnett, and you're listening to Songs of the Unsung. Songs of the Unsung is a podcast where I talk to fellow singer-songwriters about their songs and their influences. This week's guest is Paul Stone. Paul is a very positive guy, originally from Long Island, New York, now living in Summerville, South Carolina. And he's frontman of the Paul Stone Project, along with a group of really incredible local musicians. Their EP, Next in Line, is streaming on all the platforms right now. Enjoy my conversation with Paul Stone. Thanks for stopping by today, Paul.
Well, thanks. Glad to have some time with you, Eric.
Before we go too much further, tell me how to pronounce your last name, and then I'll give it my best shot.
Sure, it's Pietrofeso.
I was wondering if it was Pietro or if it was Pietro is what it got shortened to in the Pietrofeso.
Pietrofeso, and it's loosely translated to stone face.
Stone face.
Yeah, so that's where Paul Stone Project kind of evolved out of.
Very cool. Yeah, it's definitely, Paul Stone is definitely easier to say, remember, spell, print on a sticker. There are a lot of local Charleston musicians that have a challenging last name that they've adopted a moniker. You know Ben Somewhere?
Ben Somewhere, yeah.
Rabluski, I believe, and Roger Mindwater. Do you know Roger?
Mindwater, sure.
That's not even going to try.
That's okay. But
yeah.
So you do what you have to do.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah.
So if you go to an open mic or something like that, they say, next up, Paul Pietro. And you're like, just Paul is fine.
You got to have something that when people get home from seeing you play, there's at least a chance they'll be able to type that into a search engine.
Exactly. So Pietrofeso is the pronunciation.
Pietrofeso.
And,
Paul Stone
Project is the band.
Right on.
Yeah, man.
I think I first saw you guys playing. I don't remember if you were a trio or a quartet at Oak Road. It was right after Brian's discussion about his canoeing trip.
Yeah, that was 4-piece, and we had drums that night, I believe. And
I think
it was at Oak Road. Yeah, we had a really good time. We played the song Mississippi Row On, which I wrote based on Brian's trip down the Mississippi, Brian Dale's.
Yeah.
And that song came out of it. And it's quickly becoming one of the more popular originals, I think, just because it's very free-formed and loose from a musical standpoint.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I remember seeing and hearing you guys and being like, who is this guy? I know Brian Dales, for the people listening.
Yep.
I always reference Brian because he has that really good podcast, Craft Conversations. I've been on a couple times. You've been on quite a few times. And I always enjoy it when guests on this podcast go on Brian's first because it makes my research very easy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the first time I saw you play was at Homegrown Brew House, which is now Frothy Beard.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably 3, maybe 4 years ago. And I was like, wow, this guy's got some voice.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
For sure. And Brian, very influential on bringing music into the Homegrown Brew House.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I like to always say that Scotty Oliver, I'll give it, drop names. I know that's one of the things. Why not? Scotty's an awesome guy.
Love Scotty.
Scotty was the one that actually got me a gig there.
Okay.
And the quick story is you had to play original music.
Mm-hmm.
And Caleb, the owner, said, you have original music? And I was like, oh yeah, I got lots of original music. I had like maybe 3 songs. So between the gig, booking the gig and getting there, I wrote a bunch of songs and I had enough to do a whole gig, like a 2-hour thing.
Yep.
And it was very scary, playing all original tunes. I was like, I hope I don't get a tomato in the face or something like that. But we had fun and it grew out of that where it had to be originals. And then it slowly morphed into, wow, I really like the way that, I would stick one cover tune in. I'd say, is it okay to play a cover? And he goes, yeah, do a cover. And then it became, you could do more covers than originals and nobody was really, calling up and calling us out on it. So
by the time I got to Homegrown, I didn't hear anything about play all originals. I didn't even know that was sort of a thing.
Oh yeah.
So it was hard for me initially in Charleston because when I moved here, I definitely didn't have 3 hours worth of any kind of music.
Right.
And quickly had to make up the gap on that. And, I love Charleston. I love the live music scene, but it's in your average place. They're not incredibly receptive to songs they don't know. So, I don't play a song I don't like. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
yeah, so I didn't know that. But story short,
it was it was an interesting evolution for Homegrown Brew House.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden it was 3 nights a week they had live music, and it became a fun place to go on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night. And you never knew who would be there. So
absolutely,
good times.
You knew it'd be quality. The one thing I really love about Summerville is, especially if you go and there's like a third Thursday going on at Hutchinson Square.
Right.
And then you can walk over and there might be music at Wine and Tapas. You can walk over, there might be music at It's Frothy now,
Yeah.
But I do miss the homegrown days.
Absolutely. Those were some fun times. There was no real time limits, or you just played, and had a good time and go home.
Yeah. So things did come full circle, actually. I opened for you guys out in Ridgeville very recently. That was a fun day.
I'd like to say we shared the bill that day. That was awesome. The cornhole, the Chucktown Throwdown.
Yeah.
When we walked up, I couldn't believe you were there because the person who booked us said, "Oh yeah, there'll be an opening act, and he's going to play from 12 to 2 or something."
Yeah. And
there you are playing some Tom Waits and some Rolling Stones, and boy, that was awesome, man.
I walked up. When I walked up to the place, they were just like pumping new country out of the speakers, and I was just like, "What do I do? Oh no!" And I was like, "You can't go wrong with Tom Petty. Everybody likes Tom Petty. Everybody likes Bob Dylan. Everybody likes the Eagles.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
You could play those songs over and over, and they come out differently each time, and people really enjoy them. Yeah, so that was a really fun gig. It was cold.
It was very cold.
I think it was like when we packed up that night, it was probably right around 50 degrees.
Listen to a New Yorker and Ohioan say 50 degrees is cold.
Yeah. Well, my blood's thinned out.
Same.
Yeah, since being down south.
Absolutely.
Snow is not in my vocabulary anymore.
I'd rather never see it again.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah. So New York, the island.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's born and raised.
Born and raised, Long Island.
Yep. Brooklyn guy. Born in Brooklyn, raised in Nassau County.
Okay.
Grew up on the beach. So people don't realize New York's got beautiful beaches like South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And, went to elementary school, high school there. Lots of friends, but then business brought me down south.
Okay.
And, traveled through Charlotte, North Carolina, and then ended up in Charleston since 2005. So I consider myself a native now.
I'm sure.
Others might not, but I do.
I mean, you've been here long enough. Absolutely. I think you said you started out on piano as a kid.
Yeah.
It kind of really didn't
catch me.
Didn't take. And then Dad gave you a guitar at 13.
13. That's when I got into playing electric guitar. And quickly found out that I needed to learn how to play on an acoustic guitar because there was, nobody else to play with.
Right.
So picked up an acoustic guitar and worked on that all through middle school and high school.
Mm-hmm.
And, cut my teeth on learning everything you should, chords, progressions, how chords fit together.
Right.
Try to emulate your favorite bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones.
I was about to ask, mean, who at 13 years old, were you listening to that you were like, I got to learn how to play guitar?
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. So Southern rock was really huge when I was in middle school. Leonard Skinner, Molly Hatchet, Allman Brothers. I don't know if you'd call them Southern rock. They're like everything, right?
Right.
But I was listening to those bands, and then also my favorites like the Beatles. Certainly was a big influence.
Right.
And we all tried to learn how to play Blackbird.
Mm-hmm. I still don't have
hardest
that down.
song in the world.
Sure.
And then try to play it and sing it. It's Paul McCartney's like, the the god of musical instruments.
Oh yeah.
And so they really influenced a lot of how I tried to sound.
Mm-hmm.
And then vocally, I always liked to sing and play.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would say, I wish you wouldn't sing so much, but I think I've gotten better at that over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a teenager, you have to figure out how to sing. So
Sure.
I said, wow, who do I want to sound like? And of course, Eric Clapton and the Cream came up. So we were trying to, and doing, songs that were very popular in the 60s
Mm-hmm.
and early 70s. And, you just keep cracking at the whip and put 4 or 5 songs together, and then you're playing in the auditorium.
Yeah. Yeah. So, on Brian's podcast, you kind of gave a shout out to your music teachers out there. Had a couple guitar guys teaching you guitar.
Yep. When I first started playing, there was a small guitar shop. It was in a little house on one of the streets, and it was 2 brothers, Tom and Charlie Lavarco, and they had a Focus 2 studios. And Tom was my first, quote unquote, real guitar teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Should have paid more attention to what he was laying down, but he taught me all the things that would help you get started
Mm-hmm.
on electric guitar. So I switched, progressed from acoustic to electric guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, power chords
Mm.
and pentatonic scales.
Okay.
Different types of practice techniques to get your fingers to move faster and,
Mm-hmm.
and better. And probably should have listened to more of what Tom had to say. But they're 2 great guys. And actually it's called, oh gosh, the name just flipped out of my brain. But Charlie Lavarco, the younger of the 2 brothers, is still up there. And it's called the Music Emporium on Jerusalem Avenue in Belmore.
Okay.
So
right on.
Man, those guys were awesome. They really catered to the musical community.
Nice.
And all the young cats who didn't have money, they would try
Mm-hmm.
to help them get into guitars and stuff like that. So
Now, when you came to them saying, I want to learn how to play guitar, was it chords and scales right off the bat? Or was it like, let's figure out how to work a song into this? or
it was a little both.
Yeah.
It was like a mix,
Okay.
Start out with chords,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then cowboy chords, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
G chord, D chords,
Sure.
C chords,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then scales came later,
Uh-huh.
but it was always some musical theory in the beginning, and then
Okay.
they would try to mix a song in.
Yeah.
And chord chart it
Yeah.
right there on your little musical book
Uh-huh.
there, and write
Uh-huh.
the chords out, and try to work out a song, and then go home and practice.
Mm-hmm.
Should have practiced more,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and then come back the next week, and you'd go through it.
I had like one lesson.
Yeah.
And I'd already been playing guitar, like kind of self-taught. And I had a buddy that was learning at the same time. So we just kind of compared notes.
Right.
And my mom took me into this local place for one lesson. And the woman sat me down and had a Mel Bay book or something.
Right.
And she started like, well, this is the C scale. And that wasn't the way to get to me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
as
way
a
to get
teenager.
to me was like, show me 3 songs and one song that has 3 chords and one song that has those 3 chords in it, and I'm
Right.
hooked.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, that wasn't the way to get to me.
Yeah. So this was a mix of, Mel Bay
Mhm,
and playing a song that you wanted to learn. So usually he would say, go home and next week, let me know what song you want to learn. And
Yeah.
I would always come back with something that was real easy, like While My Guitar Gently Weeps,
Uh-huh.
super hard song to
Right,
play
yeah.
when you're a beginner.
Yeah.
But, he would work it out, and you'd
Mhm.
practice it, and a month later you might be able to get through the verse.
A buddy of mine and I, we just kind of learned at the same time, and it was to the point where we're like, G, C, and D get you pretty far. And then all of a sudden you start looking, you're seeing all this like, oh, this B minor. Oh, if I could just get that B minor down, this is what I could do too. And you
Yeah.
kind of take one more chord brings these 5 more songs into play.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. The Beatles had a story. Paul McCartney tells a story about when they started playing the John, George, and Paul. I don't think Ringo was in the band yet, but they were in search of the B7 chord, and they took a bus like 2 towns away to have some guy teach him how to play that B7 chord. I probably got that story a little wrong, but it was definitely funny because like the B minor chord.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're like, man, if I could learn that chord, it opens up all these turnarounds
That
and
sounds
bridges
like
and
a-
stuff like that.
Sounds like a King Arthur's quest.
It's
We're
quest,
on a quest
for the B7.
B7.
But pretty cool.
So yeah, at what point did you start? At what point did that turn into Did you have a band there and friends of yours, or when did playing with others come into play?
Pretty right in line with playing guitar, but
Mhm.
because I wasn't a very good guitar player, they said, "Why don't you play bass?"
Yeah,
Because I was taking upright bass in middle
Okay.
school.
Yeah.
Terrible at it because it's a hard instrument to play. There's no
It is.
frets.
Right.
So it's about listening and
Yeah.
feel and learning. But I picked up a hollow body electric bass, and I was playing bass guitar with a couple of guys that played guitar. And it evolved from that. And eventually I said, let's switch to guitar
Mm-hmm.
full time. And I played with the first real band I was in, Eric, was in 9th grade. So whatever age we were. And the name of the band was High Gear. All right.
Yeah.
We had 2 drummers,
Oh,
a bass
wow.
player, and 2 guitar players.
Okay.
So it was, it was a pretty big thing.
You're putting out some noise.
Putting out some noise and of course, the bands that have 2 drummers, we were trying to get
Allman Brothers.
Allman Brothers, stuff like that. And had a lot of fun playing guitar as a 9th grader, and of course, got to play in the talent show.
Oh, of course.
So the first song, this will make everybody smile. The first song I ever played in front of an audience at a talent show was Freebird. And they had me sing it. So I never really sang and played guitar, but they said, "No, you could do it. You could do it."
Right.
And so, because the other guitar player had to do the Freebird lead.
Oh,
so
right.
he didn't want to. He couldn't. Doing those things together doesn't really always work out. So
right.
there I am singing Freebird, and that was like the start of, wow, this is more fun than anything else in the world.
Yeah.
And so it just kept growing.
Yeah. Everybody likes to say they're not doing this for validation, but you throw a musician a little bit of validation, and it's
forget it.
It's crack, man.
It's crack. It's you're ready to go. But that was really the bass guitar, and then into guitar,
Mhm.
and then all through high school there were different bands
Mhm.
that I played with.
Writing songs at all then, or just learning songs and playing covers? Or?
Yeah. So songwriting started in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and I was playing with a bunch of guys that were really amazing. Our band name changed. It was Paradox.
Okay.
And there's a band that actually had some album that was called Paradox. That's not us. But we were writing songs, and it was like 1980, 81, 82.
Mm-hmm.
So 40 years ago, which is just incredible. And the music, we had a keyboard player who was really very much into experimental type music. So our music was almost had like a rap feel before there was rap music. So it's 19.
Okay.
It was very, we used a drum machine.
Okay.
We had a drum machine and a drummer.
Oh,
So
all right.
the time was right there.
Sure.
And, writing our own songs was fun. We recorded in a basement studio
Mm-hmm.
with a Tascam Porta Studio.
Uh-huh.
Right. Tascam Porta
So
Studio.
like a 4-track cassette.
Porta Studio with a reel-to-reel connected to it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And, we made demos. We published our stuff, like if, however you had to,
Did you do
copyright,
put it in the mail and send it to yourself? Or?
No, you actually had we sent it to like the,
you did the real version.
The real version,
Yeah.
like sent it to whatever it goes to, like Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
10021, and they send you a thing back. You had to put your
Lyrics
liner notes and lyrics and the music, and you do all that stuff. And we were really proud of it. Sent out not hundreds. We sent out quite a few demos. They weren't CDs; they were cassette tapes.
Right.
To different, Columbia and Arista and
Mm-hmm.
Casablanca. And you'd get the rejection letter. Thank you so much for considering us for your music, but this isn't what we're looking for right now.
Sure.
Keep writing and keep sending us those songs. And
a letter's better than nothing. Right.
But a lot of fun.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
A lot of gigging? playing around
Yeah,
town?
in New York, Long Island was famous for live music and clubs.
Mhm.
So you could play pretty much whenever you wanted. And we did gig, not, I wouldn't say a lot
Mhm.
because we were in school and
Sure.
other things, but we played, quite a few places over the years in New York and had great times. It was
Mhm.
always fun. We never played CBGBs.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
We
That
always
was,
wanted to play CBGBs,
of course.
but our friend, we had friends that their bands were there, and that place was like crazy fun to go to.
That's very cool. Was there like a kind of a local scene where
Yeah.
you had, bands that you guys were friends with and you'd share bills and stuff like that?
Yeah, there were, but I honestly think Summerville and Charleston has a much more warm music scene.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, and that's maybe my perception of it.
Okay.
But I think people talk and share more musically here. In New York, sometimes it was a little bit cutthroat,
Mm-hmm.
not in a bad way, but it was just like our band's the best band, and,
Sure. Yeah.
blah blah blah.
I mean, you can absolutely have music scenes where everybody views it as a competition.
It was very competitive, yeah.
And not a lot gets done that way. But if you have a sort of a more of a collaborative scene where people realize just like a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yep.
A lot more gets done and everybody's just kind of happier.
It's the truth. And I don't want it to sound like it was, there weren't friends and relationships,
Right.
but there was always that very competitive thing, like who could play that lick, especially if you were doing, cover band stuff, which we did too. And that was just what it was. So there were a lot of clubs. We played gigs in New York back when I was up there was, you played from 10 to 4 in the morning.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Bars were open until 4 a.m. and you would, pretty much have to play when you played. So,
right.
You learned how to extend songs and jam on stuff. And
would you repeat sets? Would it be 3 hours and 3 hours again? Or would you try to play a 6-hour run with?
If it was us alone, so like we sometimes we would share a bill. If it was us alone, no, we always had enough. We used to have like boatloads of music. I mean, Aerosmith to Led Zeppelin, and Freebird's always a good one to give you 10 minute
that gives
break.
You 10, yeah, for sure.
So it was it was really pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you continue to do that on through college and everything?
Yeah, we played until I guess about 20. I was about 22 years old.
Okay.
And then, like all things, we weren't really getting to that next level. So we decided to pack it in. And then I played more for my own, satisfaction, stopped gigging and all that stuff. But it was fun while it lasted,
Gotcha, man.
Yeah.
Now, said you moved to Charleston about 2005.
Yep.
And I think you said maybe 2010-ish is where you auditioned for a band on drums?
Yeah, gosh, it's been that long. Yeah,
I was doing math. You didn't say the year, but I was kind of
it was probably
trying to do some math on that.
Yeah, that's pretty close. I mean, it's over 10 years. And friends, that were trying. I overheard them talking. They said, "Boy, if we could just get a drummer." And I said, "Well, I could play drums."
Oh yeah,
that was the stupidest thing to say.
Now, by I can play drums. I mean, did you have a drum set?
No, I didn't have a drum set.
Okay.
I didn't. I don't even think I had sticks. But they said, "Oh man, we have a kit and you can borrow sticks." So
yeah,
I played. I did an audition.
I
was exhausted after playing for about an hour, 2 hours, whatever it was. Like my arms and my legs were killing me. But I never played a gig on drums, so that never did happen.
Okay.
But after we were done with the audition, I'm going to call it, there was a guitar there, and I was poking around on the guitar, and the drum, and the other person there said, "You play guitar?" And I said, "Well, that's really my instrument. I just wanted to get into a band again."
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, I'm a drummer, really. I just like playing guitar."
Okay.
So we flipped, and that's how we got into music again down in the South.
That's excellent. And so was it sort of the first foray back into music since your early 20s? Was it?
In a band. Absolutely.
That's
I
awesome,
played
man.
in church. I shouldn't say.
Okay.
I played like acoustic guitar in church and stuff like that. Totally different though. You
Sure,
you have
yeah.
music in front of you, and you're not supposed to be in the limelight. You're
Right,
supposed
it's
to be
back up,
up the singers and
and
stuff
people
like
are
that.
generally pretty forgiving of.
Yeah, well, and if you're playing with chords in front of you,
Yeah,
you really
can't go wrong.
No, you really can't go wrong.
Not a lot of B minors in this.
There's, straight up a lot of diminished chords in church music, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of plagal cadences for those of you theory buffs. I know just enough theory to be dangerous.
Me too. Me too.
To myself.
Yeah. But
so, back to playing live music. Back in Summerville, playing in a band. Where does the Paul Stone project come into play?
So we had a band and we were playing. It was called the Big Daddies.
Okay.
So we were having a lot of fun playing, together.
Mm-hmm.
Really great guys. Roger Craig,
mm-hmm.
him and I have been joined at the hip since that
bass player.
Yeah,
solid bass
player, man.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And you want him on your team whenever you're playing music.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. And then there was Dee Coulter, and Dee was the other guitar player.
Okay.
And we had a few different drummers, but Keenan Green was our drummer that we played with for, I'm going to say, the longest.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was I wanted to play more. I got the bug again. My daughter's growing up. She's doing her thing, and I had more time.
Right.
So we were talking one night, and I said, hey, would you guys mind if I just did like some solo stuff or maybe some duo stuff and tried to, keep growing my abilities again? No, let's go ahead and do it. So I needed a name.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Stone Project came up, and the first gig that I played was at Cup of Mana.
Okay.
So Janice over Cup of Mana was nice enough, and Mike, I should say both of them,
mm-hmm.
were nice enough to let me play on a Saturday afternoon. And it was like 2-hour gig,
mm-hmm.
and I was nervous because I hadn't always have a band behind you.
It's a whole different ball game when you're by yourself.
Yeah. So
even if you're the singer, even if you're the front man of a band, when you got people back there behind you and they got your back.
Yes.
But when you're up there by yourself, there's nowhere to hide, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I had to buy a PA system. I didn't have a PA system,
mm-hmm.
So I bought a powered PA speaker from the local guitar shop and,
mm-hmm.
and a microphone and a 4-channel board.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, now we're cooking. So, that's how I got into the Paul Stone Project. And it, it's just, that was 2017. So it's 5 years pretty much now, which is
nice.
About that, right? Give or take a month or two.
Yeah.
But
in that original lineup, it was let's see, I got it here. Roger.
Yeah.
John Wilmarth. And then occasionally Julia.
Yeah.
Rogers'
Occasionally Julia was singing with us. And it
mm-hmm.
was, that was the lineup that we cut the EP that we did at Charleston Sound. And that was just an amazing thing too. The last time I was in a studio was 1998.
Yeah. Few things changed.
Whoa, look at this. Look what you could do now.
Yeah.
You could smooth stuff. But that was John Wilmarth is an amazing drummer. Teaches at Summerville High.
Okay.
And if you listen to those 4 songs, to me the most stable thing in it is the drums. I mean,
if you're not building it off of solid drums, nothing's going to stand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's the foundation you're building everything on.
Yeah.
It's a good sounding EP, man.
Well, I appreciate that.
You did this thing, and I do this thing too, where I say, I listened to your EP, and the first thing you did was apologize for it.
Yeah.
I do that too, because,
natural.
I made an album, and of course, if given the chance, I would change absolutely everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the point of musicians, and we don't have record executives assigning Grammy-winning producers to and providing studio musicians and engineers in multi-million-dollar studios making gold records with our music. We work with what we got. Right. At the budget we have and the time we have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all a document of a place and a time, man. And
That's exactly right.
It's a great sounding record. Don't apologize.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I guess it's just me and you. We always set the bar a little higher. So Ron Daniel said to me, who's I think has 4 albums now, impressive songwriter. He said, man, that's a mark in time that you can build off of. So that's kind of the way I look at it. And, my head was spinning because I was the producer. I was the finance guy behind it. And Charleston Sound, great place to record, by the way. They're a business. They're not going to give away time.
Right.
It's like I felt like I was in the psychiatrist's office and, we're doing our thing.
Your hour's almost up. Yeah.
All right, we're done for the week.
Yeah.
And the way you get, through it is you could extend by adding more time, which is more money. So I tried to keep, got to do it in budget.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do 4 songs, which was pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
Right. In 16 hours.
That is aggressive.
With mix down and all the other stuff.
Oh, wow. Yep.
Yeah. The whole ball of wax,
For
16
sure.
hours. So we did that. And then it was, okay, I'm not going to not finish the project. So I wanted to have a project, which was have a CD, have the songs on BMI, had you register with BMI.
Sure. Yep.
That was so much fun. I felt like that was kind of a proud thing,
Sure.
Me and Carol Baez-Sager are both BMI artists,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think I am too. ASCAP, BMI, one of those. Yeah, no, I'm ASCAP.
ASCAP and BMI. You could do one or the other or both.
I think I did ASCAP. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all.
I did it.
It's just to do it, right? And then, pressing the CD and
to make your own publishing company and say it's this.
It's that, right? So it was a lot of fun. But then when you look back at it, you say, oh man, I didn't even think like, J.J. Cale, he's one of my favorite songwriters. And when you listen to his voice, it's got that rich fullness. And I think they double track his voice or they do some things with it to make it sound like it's a little bit wider. Yeah. And so we didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. And these guys just produced it. And my voice is really pretty, it's pretty much what it is. It's just, there was nothing fancy. There was no double tracking or whatever you do. And I said, man, that would have been cool. And
there's a danger of taking all these things too far, though.
Right.
There's a danger of overdoing it.
Yep.
And something I am, at least for my own music, my own tastes, and my own voice, a little reverb goes a long way.
Right.
A little monkeying around goes a long way. And if it pushes too far, I would rather not go far enough than go too far as monkeying around with my own voice.
Sure. Yeah.
One thing, and I'll just go on me for just a second.
Yeah, sure.
The biggest thing about my record is all those songs were a little on the newer side. And after playing them for 5 more years,
right,
I've become better at playing them and singing them. And, and I'm sure you feel that way too.
Absolutely.
Once you gig test a song 100 times, it morphs into the better version of it.
Yep.
And if you capture that in its infancy,
it's fun.
Yeah.
You could listen back to how it started and where it evolved to.
I always say that's what a live record's for.
Yeah.
Down the line, when you have 2 or 3 records under your belt, make a live record and show where those have come to.
Yeah. That's a great point. So the songs evolve and bands change, except if you're the Rolling Stones, right?
They changed a few. They've had a few guitar players in and out.
That's true. Yeah. Oh, maybe the Beatles.
Definitely the Beatles.
Never changed.
Right.
It was the Fab Four.
Yeah.
Well,
the recorded Beatles.
Recorded Beatles, right. Gotcha. But, one of the songs that evolved recently was Next in Line. Actually, and so did Detention Center Blues. And part of that was due to the new member of our band, a recent member, Dave Groninger. And Dave just brings this whole blues element to our sound.
I love Dave's playing.
Oh my gosh.
I love his playing.
So he said, boy, this is a really good song. Would you mind if and I was like, no, that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
And so the song has a little bit more of a old school blues feel now
Mm-hmm.
with his soloing, and then some of the melodic things he does over the verses. All right, so we need to go and re-record it or do a live recording of it or something like that. And so Dave's definitely added a nice freshness to some of the songs that we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then most recently, I just love dropping names on your podcast.
Oh,
by the way.
yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
So all these guys can go, yeah.
Absolutely.
Most recently, we started, Bob Williams
Oh,
started
yeah.
to sit in with us. He played with us at the Edisto
Mm-hmm.
Blackwater Boogie. And Bob's got just such a great feel for rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
That adds another new freshness to it.
Yeah.
Not that the other stuff wasn't, where it should be, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just fresh. So we're having a lot of fun with, the originals that were written in 2017,
Mm-hmm.
recorded in whenever we did that EP. I forgot what year it was. And so now they're getting a fresh start. And we play these at, we played at Kiki and Rye
Mm-hmm.
on Sunday for brunch. And we, speckled in a bunch of originals. People came up afterwards. Two guys came up and they said, I don't recognize that song. Who wrote it? It was really good. And it was Mississippi Row On was one of them.
Isn't that the best feeling?
Oh man, I was like, well, thanks, man.
Yeah. I was playing Saturday night and in a set full of covers, I threw one of mine in I got done and a woman goes, who does that song? I said, well, me.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, but who wrote that song? I said, me.
Yeah.
She's like, really? And that's what we're doing it for, man.
It's really nice. It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
So, I'm not one of the, I don't know if people have a category, but I'll say that some people want it to be played exactly how it was written with no changes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, being a Grateful Dead fan,
yeah,
it never comes out the same twice.
Right.
So I always say with originals that I've written, let's have some fun with it. Let's see what we can do, where we can go.
Continuously malleable.
Yes.
And if somebody just sits in one night if you have a harp player show up and
jump in, man.
It's a new version.
It's a different, new version.
So that's the original lineup on Next in Line?
Yeah, John Wilmoth, Roger Craig, me, and Julia Craig helping out on vocals.
So when you tracked it there at the studio, was it everybody in one room, or was it start with drums, build it up, scratch tracks? How'd you track it?
It was drums with bass and rhythm guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and then we overdubbed lead guitar, and then we overdubbed vocals.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Click track. John loves playing with the click track. So he goes, do you mind if we use a click track? I'm like, no, I'm used to that.
Mm-hmm.
So John had the click track. I had it. I don't think Roger had a click track because he's such a, when he plays bass, he's a feel bass player.
Yeah.
So a click track would distract
yeah.
him. It could be, to me, it's just something to help keep time.
Sure.
But, that's the way we did it. It was so there is two guitar parts, two tracks.
Yeah, I noticed. I was definitely hearing it, and I was like, "Well, was Dave in the band yet?"
No, that was pre-Dave, and
it was good playing, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, that was a nail biter, and the guys at the studio said, we'll do as many takes as you want.
Yeah,
and I was like, no.
Oh,
that's money.
Oh, okay.
So I said, let's try to do it with 3 takes.
Okay.
So we did 3 takes for each song.
Mm-hmm.
And then the lead part, same thing, overdubbed the lead, 3 takes.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one was the one we went with.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty,
good when it works that way.
I had the worst sore throat when we did the vocals. I'm not kidding. I had not strep throat, but I had like the worst.
Your throat knew you were doing vocals, and it just shut itself down.
And they were like, well, why don't you just do this and then come back and do it again? I'm like, nah, let's just get this done.
Yeah.
And so I, plowed through the best I could with it.
That notion of being under the gun is why I record myself.
Such a good way to do it.
However,
I
can tinker forever.
Yeah. When do you say it's done?
Yeah. The good part about being under the gun is sometimes deadlines, sometimes limiting your options or really saying, let's boil this down and get things done. That's what gets things done, for better or worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I have the equipment in this room we're sitting in that I could record an album and put it out tomorrow, but it's unlikely that I will because I have no deadline.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking back at that project, I really wish I would have had somebody in there as a producer.
Mm-hmm.
And then that would have taken me out of that role, even though we talked a little bit about it with
Sure.
John,
Mm-hmm.
on the song that I think was the best song. Actually, the two songs I liked the most on the EP were April Honey.
Mm-hmm.
Thought that had a nice feel to it. And then I Tried.
Mm.
And on I Tried, there was something missing. And John said, "Oh, I know what it is. It needs conga drums."
Okay.
And so if you listen, they're in there. They're in the mix. And he,
Mhm.
we did that as an afterthought, quick one. That was one take, and John had it. That's how good he is. But if there was a producer, that takes the pressure off of a little bit of the musician to focus on the music and the singing.
That's provided that they take it into a direction you want to go.
Yeah, that's true.
But I always wonder too, listening to a lot of artists, there are artists that I absolutely like. My favorite of all time is Tom Waits.
Love that guy.
And,
oh my gosh.
And what's a producer's role for Tom Waits? Just to go in there and let the tape roll and let Tom Waits do Tom Waits?
Stay out of his way.
Or does any of that come from a producer? And that's interesting.
Yeah. That's I don't know.
I know. And another one of my favorite, though, that I do hear the producer in all of his things is Tom Petty. Because when Jeff Lynne's producing Tom Petty, you hear
ELO.
More of a layer of sound at ELO style.
Yeah.
But when, what's his name? The guy with the big beard, the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, I forgot his name. I know who it is. Gordon. No.
We'll come up with it.
Come back with that one.
When he produces their records, it is stripped down. It is, you can tell they're all playing in a room together.
Yep.
You can tell Jeff Lynne builds up those tracks one at a time.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, with Tom Petty songs, there's no wrong way.
No.
But it's definitely differing results.
Sure, different results, but I think with Tom Petty, who's one of my favorites too, he might have been the reason why I stuck with it and said, I could do something more. Refugee, when I heard that song, it was like,
yeah.
But you could still hear his lyrical sense and feel. I do anyway. And he's a storyteller.
Yeah.
Amazing story. Bob Dylan, like that type of thing. Tom Petty is just unmistakable as a lyricist. It's just like you could have anybody sing his songs and you're like, that sounds like a Tom Petty tune.
Tom Petty's a guy that he will sing about a thing and I'll be like, it would never even occur to me to sing a song about that.
Yeah.
Early Beatles, it's all I love you, you love me.
Great.
We love this. It's fantastic.
P.S. I love you.
Yeah, but it's
awesome.
It's not incredibly complex. Now they did get complex in a short period of time.
Yeah. Phil Spector.
Yeah. Everything the Beatles did happened in 9 years on recordings.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
so the producer might have a bigger role, he might not. It just depends on the artist.
And how precious you are about what you do in a live show.
Yeah.
If you're like, the record has to be what you get live, or the record becomes its own thing,
Right. Yeah. It's a bookmark.
Yeah.
A timing mark. Yeah.
But I can definitely see from your perspective where at least not having to wear that hat too.
Yeah.
Would have freed up some bandwidth to do the rest of it.
To do the rest of it. But yeah, definitely a great experience. Anybody who's thinking about recording a song, definally going into the studio, it's a wicked feeling,
It's an eye opener.
Yeah. Eye opener, and it's very it's uplifting in a way because you're in a studio with recording artists and who recorded a Charleston Sound? Hootie and the Blowfish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, Hootie.
And they did all right.
They did. They were a good band.
Yeah.
I like them a lot, man.
Yeah,
they were like
sure.
the 90s, right? Early 90s.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like Charleston royalty, man.
Royalty. Darius Rutger,
Yeah.
the guy in the studio said, "Oh, Darius might be in later."
Okay.
So we got to wrap up and clean up. I was like,
Oh.
wow, that's pretty cool.
You know what?
They didn't say
It is
that.
a great sounding record, man.
Hey, thank you so much.
I put it on. I was like, this sounds really good. It took me a minute to find it on Apple Music because there's another Paul Stone.
Yep.
And that wasn't you.
Nope.
And then, but yeah, man, great sounding
I
record.
appreciate that.
Want to play us a song off of that?
Sure, let's do that.
Yeah, what do you got?
We'll do I Tried.
You want to tell me about how that came to be?
Whew. That song was written, I think it was more, I was in a mood, working really hard at work, doing all these things, trying to be a better guy. Isn't that the truth, guys?
Yeah.
Always working to be a little bit better. And that song kind of came from that feel. And the lyrics, just written along the lines of keep working towards being better. Sometimes there's a letdown, and that's life. So that's where that song came from.
All right, man. Let's hear it.
All right.
I see the sun shining down on your big brown eyes again. Well, I can see that you're miles away, and it makes me sad. I cry, oh girl, I tried. Oh girl, I tried. Oh girl, I tried. Oh girl, I tried. Well, can't you see I'm giving all I've got to give? Well, can't you see I'm giving all I've got? Girl, I tried. Oh, girl, I tried. I see you standing on the side of the room, and I know that you're saying goodbye. My love for you was all in vain, and it makes me sad. I cried, oh girl, I tried. Oh girl, I tried. Oh girl, I tried. Oh girl, I tried. Oh baby, I tried and I tried. Well, can't you see I'm giving all I've got to give? Well, can't you see I'm giving all I've got? Girl, I tried. Oh, 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 girl, I tried. Well, can't you see I'm giving all I've got to give? I'm giving it all I've got. Well, can't you see I'm giving all I've got? Girl, I tried. Whoa, girl, I tried. I tried to get you to come around and change your point of view. You just kept on doing those crazy old things you always do. Oh, girl, I tried. Oh, girl, I tried. Oh, girl, I tried. Oh, girl, I tried. Well, baby, I tried and I tried. Well, can't you see I'm giving all I've got to give? I'm giving it all I've got. Well, can't you see I'm giving all I've got? Girl, I tried. Whoa, girl, I tried. I see that sun shining down on your big brown eyes again. just kept on doing those crazy old things you always did. Oh girl, I tried. Oh girl, I tried. Oh girl, I tried. Oh girl, I tried.
Awesome, man.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks,
Yeah,
Eric.
I like that on the record, and I liked it now.
Yeah, a little stripped down, just me and an acoustic guitar, but
For sure.
that's the way it was written.
Okay, yeah. It's always interesting to hear something that a lot of people who are on this podcast, I only hear solo or on their recordings or solo. But yeah, to hear it in a band, then to hear it stripped down,
Different feel.
different feel. How did blues come into the mix?
Well, you know, rock and roll is basically rooted in blues,
Mm,
in my
mhm.
humble opinion. So the artists that I liked and I was listening to more and more were really blues based.
Mhm.
And I wanted to play more and play with different people. So I got connected with the Low Country Blues Club
Mm.
in Charleston. Great bunch of people. And they have the open jams on, it was always Sunday night and I think Wednesday night.
Mhm.
And they used to play at Smokey's down in Hanahan, little burger joint that's not there anymore. But, I wanted to play more. And so the blues crept back into my playing. And then when you get into it, it takes a lot to play the blues the way the blues should be played.
Oh, yeah.
So I started to, work on that more and, would go to these open mic nights, had a lot of fun, met lots of people. There's a lot of great musicians in Charleston that are playing the blues. And so when you do that, you just start to, your writing kind of moves in that direction a little bit more. Rush is a great band,
Mm-hmm.
but that's a different type of style of music and it takes a real different type of dedication to get proficient at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that blues was more rock and roll based. People would like to play it more, and playing in a band, you want to do something that everybody could agree on. So
Sure.
moved into that direction quite a bit. And, we're having a lot of fun with it. A 1, 4, and 5, you could do a lot with that.
People, too many people think it's 1, 4, and 5.
It's not. It could be 1, 6, 4, 5. It
Right.
could be,
Yeah.
you could have, borrowed chords. There's all sorts of crazy
Yeah.
stuff you could do. But
Out of all even breaking down blues, it can go in so many directions.
Absolutely.
Chicago blues,
Delta
Mississippi
blues.
Delta blues,
Yeah.
Charleston blues.
Yeah.
Is there sort of a lane in the blues that you kind of like? Are you more of a Lead Belly or a BB King, or what direction do you prefer on your own?
I would say more of a BB King
Mm.
type of blues, which is, I think, he was Memphis, right?
Yeah.
BB King was a Memphis guy.
Mhm.
But probably somewhere between that and like the Chicago blues. I like the rawness of the Chicago blues and that guitar sound and things like that. But BB is definitely if you could play one note that's as sweet as a BB note, forget it. You could just hang on that for a week and you'll be happy.
Yeah. I mean, I loves me some Steve Vai. The guy can
Absolutely.
play. I mean, if he were getting paid by the note, he'd
Yeah.
have a lot of money. But sometimes, like you said, BB can hit that one note.
Just make it sing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So, that's where the blues pulled back into my writing a little bit. Was I wanted to write music that was, one, fun to play.
Mm.
There's a lot of room for interpretation and make people smile, hopefully. That's
Yeah.
like one of my things I always say when I play a gig, especially when I started playing solo stuff again, being nervous, right? To be
Yeah.
in front up there alone. Never
Yeah.
did that before
Mhm.
until I started playing in Charleston. I said, well, if I can get one person to smile during 2 sets, work's done.
Oh yeah.
So when Roger and I started playing together, sometimes it would happen on the first song. Somebody would smile, you know, and
All
I go, Raj, we're good for the day.
Yeah.
And then it was just fun from there.
For sure.
All the nerves dropped, you know, because mission accomplished, whether there was a tip in the tip jar or somebody, you know, wrote you a nice note or whatever. Didn't matter. That one person smiled.
Absolutely, man.
And I got a quick story for you. You want a quick story? Quick,
For
fun
sure.
story? I know I'm kind of pulling you off the game a little bit, but we played a Kiki and this has never happened to me before. Played a Kiki and Rye in Mount Pleasant on Sunday for brunch. And there was a family sitting at the table, like right close up to the stage. And they were obviously enjoying the music. So they came up. There was a little girl. She had to be maybe 4 years old. Dad came up, said hello, dropped the tip in the tip jar. And then the dad goes, well, ask. I was like, huh. Girl says, can you play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? Now I was like, how could I not? Right.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I said, you got it. Right after the set break, we'll do that song. So we took a break. I said to Roger and Dave, it was a trio that day.
Let's go look it up.
I know that song. I mean, that's like
okay.
Mama sung that song to me when I was a baby, right? But I said, you guys just let me do this song for that, you know, little girl. So I got back on and I said, this one's going to go out to Emma. She's one of our newest fans. Thank you for the request. And I based it on, I played it in G because my voice kind of fits nice in the key of G. Played it. It was the best response to the day. People, I had fun doing it. They were smiling, listening, and the dad goes, look, he's doing your song. And so that was kind of like the highlight of the Sunday brunch gig. Something we didn't expect to do. It was, you know, an ad hoc thing, and it just made a great impression.
That's what makes you go home from a gig feeling good, man. There are
For
places
sure.
in Charleston I play where the money's great, but maybe the experience isn't quite as fun.
Could have a tough audience.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I'm getting paid to go up there and play songs.
Yes.
Even if I typically try to earn my originals. You know, I always say I treat my originals like giving medicine to a dog. You wrap it in something they want and kind of. So I kind of see maybe I can butter these guys up with some tunes. We'll pivot through some petty, maybe take it into a little more obscure stuff. And when I get that crowd all buttered up, I'll slide in that original and see how it goes.
Yeah.
And you know, there are nights where nothing I'm throwing out's working and you're not getting anything back, but ultimately I'm still playing songs.
Still playing.
I mean, I'm not home on the couch, but on a night where you can do no wrong.
It's the magic.
Or even if it's a crowded room and you got one person that's just locked in.
It's a winner.
I'm playing to that one guy.
That's a winner.
It's like these songs are for you the rest of the night.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the way to do it. And you're there, everybody else is listening, but you have one person that's loving it, and that's where you move to. Yeah. So that was kind of the Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star thing. And
For sure.
You know, I might work that into the repertoire once or twice in the future. You know?
Hey man, keep that in your back pocket. You might need it. When you're writing songs,
all right.
The way I kind of think of it is, do you fire up the machine and say, I'm going to work on a song right now? Or do you kind of just keep the butterfly net in hand in case one starts to fly by and you're like, I better snag that one? Like, what's your approach to songwriting?
It's probably two-pronged. Sometimes I write with the butterfly net in hand. Maybe I'm in my car, stuck in traffic. Something comes to me and I'm like, oh, am I going to remember that? Probably not.
Probably not.
Scramble for a piece of paper and write something down. Am I going to remember the melody? Probably not. Telephone, sing it into the telephone. And then at least I have a reference point.
Yeah.
That's the butterfly net way. And a few songs are like that.
Next in line.
Next in line was written
Harris
Teeter. Yeah. And it was man, that's great. You're like, I don't remember saying that, but I
researched you, man.
You got it, man.
Yeah. This is your life.
Yeah. That's the butterfly net.
Yeah.
You know, I was online at a Harris Teeter and the cashier said, next in line. And I was like, man, that is just too easy to pass up.
Yeah.
You know? So that's where that bloomed from. But then there are times where I'll escape up to my little room where I write and do practice and things like that. And I'll just say, no, I want to write. And I might work on a theme where might be something in the news that struck me, and I'll say, oh man, I got to write that. I got to write about that. And I'll work it up. I have, a notebook. I'll write down my lyrical thoughts. And then some people say, well, do you write the music first or the lyrics first? I typically write the lyrics first, and then I'll put music behind it. Most times.
I always have trouble if I have the music finding the lyric. But I've discovered that if the lyrics come, the music the lyrics suggest the music. Like, that's the easy part.
That's the easy part, right? So, and then how's the bridge going to go, or am I going to even have a bridge? How's the chorus going to go? Yeah, and that might fall afterwards.
Okay.
But usually it's the lyrics will come first, and then I'll put music behind it, and it's usually very raw. And then it will kind of bloom from there. It might take some tunes are written really quick. Some I might leave and forget about and then come back to, but I'll have the lyrics, the chord progression, and then some raw recording of how, what I think at the time.
Now, is there a lot of voice memos in your phone, a lot of in your notes app, just a lot of lines floating around, or notebooks sitting there, or?
Yeah, I have notebooks.
Okay.
Like just notebooks with lyrics and things that I've written. Sometimes it might be just one line.
Yeah.
And I just have, man, that's such a cool thought. And I'll have one line, and it's there for maybe a future type of, writing session thing. And then I don't save things on my phone. What I usually do is I have a Zoom board that I could record into. So I'll record into that, and then I'll take the WAV file and put it on my laptop and have it saved as, some title. I'll, make a song title up, and that's where I'll sit until I pull it back in and say, what was I doing there? And that's that.
Man, I always say, like, if I documented every thought that came in my head when I woke up in the middle of the night, or if I was in the shower, driving, or on the bike, I'd have 10 records right now. I got to get better about having that butterfly net on me,
And it's really, I think it's important to have that recorded reference. Might not even be there.
Nobody's ever going to hear it.
Nobody's going to hear it. But it's there for you, so you could pull it back in and do that. So that's how I tip. It's either the butterfly net or in a room, and I just say, man, this really caught my attention today. I need to write about it. And that's kind of the way I roll.
Everything written on a guitar? Or you ever have piano you plink around on? Or?
I do, but I write everything on guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you start writing a song and it starts to take shape, do you ever think like, well, this sort of reminds me a little bit of this songwriter? Do you ever pop into the head of another songwriter or artist you like and kind of think it in terms of that lane?
That's a really good question. I don't know if I so much pop into the head, but I might think, oh man, this would be, if John, and he's one of my favorite guys, John Lennon is just certainly, an amazing person, character. I might say, wow, how would John Lennon spin that? And then I might open it up to, that interpretation.
Yeah.
Even though it's me,
right?
It's still John Lennon,
right?
That's helping me pull it into where I think it's going to be something I could actually play or use.
I know I've had songs where, in my mind, I've just ripped off a particular Bob Dylan song, and I play it for somebody, and they're like, "That's a great song." I was like, "I'm ripping off Bob Dylan." They're like, "I don't hear that at all," but in my own head,
you're hearing it. Yeah. And I think the blues guys would say, so think about the blues riffs, like, Hoochie Coochie Men, dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's used in so many songs,
For sure.
They call it borrowing. I think it's a little less hard on yourself than ripping off. I'm ripping this off.
One of my favorite Neil Young songs is Borrowed Tune, and he flat out sings in it, I'm singing a borrowed tune I took from the Rolling Stones, and he did. That's definitely right. A melody from another song.
Yeah, so, I like to say borrowing.
Yeah.
But I think that's important to be able to do.
Nothing's created in a vacuum, man. We're all a culmination of our influences and experiences.
Absolutely. So, pulling in your favorites to polish something or get something into the finish line, that's what you're supposed to do, I think.
Yeah. Is there a song, not one of your own, but is there a song by any songwriter, band, any song that you can point at and say like, oh man, that's the pinnacle of songwriting. If I could write a song like that, that's the top of the mountain for me. It doesn't have to just be one song, but
wow. Lyrically, musically,
any of it.
All that stuff. There's probably so many, but
I know it's hard kind of being put under the gun.
No,
like that,
it's not at all. It's kind of like what the pinnacle. I think to me it would have to be The Long and Winding Road by the Beatles. I mean, that song, when if you hear the stripped down version or you hear the fully produced version, I think it was Phil Spector on that one. That said you got to have, strings, and
Paul hated that.
Right. But when you listen to that song lyrically and it's timeless, that's the pinnacle of, and McCartney's got probably, dozens of them, right?
For sure.
But that one, the first time I heard that as a teenager, I was like, man, it really struck a chord. Yeah. And then now as an adult, somewhat, it still strikes a chord.
Yeah.
But that would probably be like top, like one of the tops.
In your music listening life, are you an albums guy? Are you a singles guy, a playlists guy? What's your listening preferences?
I would say now it's a playlist type of a person. I like a playlist. And I could even let XM Radio suggest a playlist for me.
You'll let the algorithm.
Sometimes I do. I'll say just, let it go. Or like Alexa. Alexa, play my favorite songs.
Okay.
She keeps getting better at it every year.
The algorithm gets good, man.
Oh boy. I mean.
And sometimes when it slips in a song that you don't necessarily know, but it knows based off of what you like.
Yeah.
That's good too,
Yeah. So I would say that's today. Debbie and I still have a record player downstairs, and we still listen to records. We'll put on a record and just listen to it. And that's a different type of a listening experience.
It's a commitment. I mean,
when
you put the needle down, you know what the next 20 minutes are for.
It's
and
that
then
song, those songs, that side of the album. So yeah, it's fun. But I think more like if I'm at work or doing something, I'll let the playlist be the guide.
I annoy my coworkers so much because it's albums every time.
Albums.
Yeah, there's one fella I work with, and he's 65. And he's down. He's down with albums.
He likes it. Yeah.
We listen to the White Album twice a week, I would say.
That's a good one.
But yeah, man. But the algorithm has turned me on to so much.
Yeah, it really does. And sometimes it pulls something out that I forgot about. And I love that. It's like, oh wow, that was good.
If I had to make you think of your top 5 songwriters. Doesn't have to be 5, but who are your guys? Who are your favorite songwriters?
Lennon and McCartney.
What are you, Lennon or McCartney though? Like if you had to choose, everybody either falls one side or the other typically.
So I love the darkness of John Lennon.
Yeah.
And I love the positive vibe of Paul McCartney.
Yep.
I wish I could write more positive stuff. I tend to write more on the, because outwardly, well, not only that, I think outwardly is, just my persona is I'm kind of a positive vibe guy.
Oh, you sure are. Yeah.
Right. And so, but there's the dark side of me that's always, nipping at my heels.
Right.
And so the songwriting, sometimes I go, gosh, I can write another sad song.
Yeah.
Stop already,
Yeah.
But so Lennon or McCartney, probably McCartney. Some people love to fill the world with silly love songs. What's wrong with that,
sure,
right?
Sure.
And then certainly Bob Dylan, Robbie Robinson, and gosh, if I had to say number 5, this one's going to throw you. Frank Zappa.
I love Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
I
and
love Frank Zappa.
Then right under the cusp, Tom Waits and
Mm-hmm.
just, all those guys that I didn't mention, but those would be my top 5. Definitely Zappa. And
Well, I know you're a big Deadhead as well.
yeah. And, but they're the world's best cover band.
Sure. Uh-huh.
So their musical writing, they have great ones,
Yeah.
but I love when they play other people's stuff as much as their own music.
Right.
American Beauty certainly gets a tip of the hat to me as one of my top 5
For
favorite
good
albums
reason.
at all times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that was my next question.
No way.
What albums are your favorites, man?
So top 5 would probably be, not maybe in this order, but American Beauty certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Revolver.
Oh, that's a great
Yeah. Let It Be.
Let It Be.
Yeah.
Interesting pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was for a bunch of reasons, but certainly Billy Preston playing keyboards on that was amazing.
Yeah.
And just the looseness of that whole album was really cool to me. It wasn't overproduced. It was just very loose. Certainly, wow, to narrow it down to the 5.
Doesn't have to be 5.
Boy, I like Glass Houses by Billy Joel.
Okay.
Right? Piano Man.
You're from Long Island.
Yeah,
I mean,
gotta have a Billy Joel song in there. Billy Joel album, the guy's amazing.
For sure.
And songwriters, he's what an incredible lyricist.
Solid. Yeah.
But didn't hit mine. Sorry, Billy. Be nice if he put a thing on there. Hey, I can't believe you didn't pick me.
Right,
that would be awesome for the podcast. It'd be like 1 million hits or something.
For sure. Yeah. Call me, Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is going to throw you too, because I'm going through them all and I'm saying albums that I could listen to today as much as I did back then. Destroyer, Kiss Destroyer.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I really used to like that type of music,
Sure.
and I think that had a rock and roll rawness to it.
Yeah.
That Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley and Peter Criss and
that Kiss is
Ace
one of those
Frehley.
bands that, in my mind, I'm too young. I feel like
Yeah,
they kind of had to be there.
But they still play live concerts today.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
The final tour.
Yeah. Again.
They should call it like the Walker Tour. Or
Right.
something like
I mean, the Stones are the same way, man. I saw the Stones 2021. And when I saw them, I was like, well, Mick Jagger's in twice as good a shape as I am. That guy probably ran 5 miles. But you see Keith and you're like, oh, how many more years does Keith have? But Keith looked rough for 40
years. He looked rough in 1975.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a tough one.
Ronnie, I think Ronnie Wood's my favorite guy.
He's awesome.
I love Ronnie.
Yep.
So what are you currently working on?
Right now, playing a lot. Playing a lot, playing quite a few gigs. So what we're working on is getting Bob more integrated into the band.
Okay.
And then what we'd like to do is get into a studio, some recording situation where we could record some of the new material that we're working on. The nice part is collaborating more with Dave on guitar. So he's helping out a lot with adding a different spice to the soup, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot. And of course, Roger's steady on bass and then Bob on drums. And then lastly, I would be terrible if I didn't mention our keyboard player, John Daniel.
Yeah.
Who adds this whole other realm to the music because he, multi-instrumentalist.
I saw him. He had like a trumpet there.
He played trumpet.
Like I saw him just loading in and just warming up a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, you're a dangerous man."
He's a dangerous man.
Yeah,
yeah. He keeps me on my toes.
Yeah,
John does. Yeah,
that's good to have, man.
And so much fun. So getting back into the studio with a keyboard player, new drummer, and recording some of the stuff that we've been working on, it's still rock and roll with a blues flair to it. But that's really what's keeping us busy as a band.
Excellent, man. Yeah, I'm excited to see what you got coming up next, man.
Yeah.
You got a new song for us?
I think we're going to try to play, me.
Yeah.
I'm going to do an attempt on a song that I just finished up not too long ago. And the song is written during the pandemic, right? So it's got a little bit of a feel of, what's next type of feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's play it and let's see what you think.
All right, let's hear it.
All right.
Don't look now, but the world is changing. You see it all around, the good and bad. The sky's on fire, the trees are dying, and I don't know what to do. Don't look now, but your dreams, they're fading. The work week hour goes along so slow. You save your money for things that break like China in a circus ring. And I don't know what to do. The good times and you feel the bad times too. You wish that love would shine on through. Your dreams, they're big enough, but the money just ain't enough. And I don't know what to do. But you're staring at a shady gate. You wonder why life just passed you by. Your friends, they laughed at you when you tell them that life goes flying through. And you don't know what to do. Don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. You don't know what to do.
That's a great song, Paul. What's that song called?
Well, the title's really not firmed up yet, but right now it's called I Don't Know What to Do.
Okay.
And that, the song, I think you got the feel for where it was coming from.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of optimism, but certainly darkness to it as well.
Excellent. It's a good song. I'm excited to hear what you're working on next and excited to hear, the recorded version of that with a producer. And really, thank you for stopping by today, man. It was great getting to know you better. And
yeah, absolutely.
Look forward to seeing you guys around the scene.
Thank you so much, Eric. Look forward to seeing you around the scene and opening up for you sometime down the road.
Oh.
You just let me know when. Thanks so much.
Thanks, man.
Have a good one.
You too. Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to my conversation with Paul as much as I did having it. And thanks once again for listening to Songs of the Unsung. The podcast just turned a year old. This is the 25th episode. And I've really enjoyed the conversations I've had with other musicians. I've met a lot of new people and made some really good friends doing this podcast. And I'm looking forward to all the conversations I can have in the future. Love for you to follow the podcast on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And if you're an artist and you'd like to talk about your music with me, feel free to reach out. Got a lot of ideas for things to do with the podcast in the upcoming year that I'm excited about, and I'll share as it comes out. But until then, I'll just leave you my gratitude for listening. Thank you so much. My name is Eric Barnett. I'll see you next time.